retail industry. NRF represents an industry with more than 1.6 million U.S. retail establishments and more than 24 million employees. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to make your presentation.
I'm Rachelle Bernstein, Vice President and Tax Counsel for the National Retail Federation, which represents 1.6 million U.S. retail establishments, about 1 in 5 American workers, and had 2008 sales of $4.6 trillion. Most retailers, as you know, are small businesses. In 2008, retailers' holiday sales, which typically represent 25 to 50% of their annual sales, declined by 2.8%. During the past year, consumer confidence hit its lowest level since records have been kept. For the first time in its long history, NRF is forecasting a decline in annual retail sales for 2009. Retailers lost 835,000 jobs since the beginning of 2008. Retail sales for the past 3 months continue to show sharp year-over-year declines. The tax proposal that would provide the most immediate and beneficial help to retailers that are struggling to survive is the 5-year net operating loss carryback. In our current recession, where access to credit is so severely limited, the NOL carryback will provide an important source of capital to finance ongoing operations and retain employees. An NOL can be used to obtain a refund for taxes paid in the past and or carried forward to offset tax obligations that arise in the future. Under current law, taxpayers may carry losses back 2 years and forward 20 years. Although both the House and Senate versions of the 2009 economic stimulus legislation would have permitted all businesses except those that have received TARP funds to carry their losses back for 5 years, the final version of that legislation permitted only businesses with less than $15 million in gross receipts to carry back their 2008 losses for 5 years. This provision needs to be expanded so that the size of business is not a factor in limiting the benefit of the carryback. It also should be extended to cover losses incurred in 2009 because it appears that the sales decline for 2009 will be worse than it was in 2008. NRF strongly supports H.R. 2452, bipartisan legislation introduced by Representatives Richard Neal and Pat Tiberi, the chairman and ranking member of the Select Revenue Measures Subcommittee of the House Ways and Means Committee, which would permit businesses to carry back losses from 2008 and 2009 for 5 years. President Obama included a similar proposal in his FY 2010 budget. Because current law allows taxpayers to carry losses forward for as many as 20 years to reduce future tax liability, allowing for this longer carryback period is merely an advance on a tax refund that would be due to them in the future. This advance of a future tax refund provides a much-needed source of cash for operations as businesses are struggling through this recession. This problem can be illustrated with the stories of 2 of our smaller chain retail members. These retailers are too large to be able to qualify for loans from the Small Business Administration, too small to have been able to negotiate large enough lines of credit to carry them through this recession, not creditworthy enough to qualify for TALF, and too large to be eligible for the NOL carryback permitted to only small businesses earlier this year. In both of these situations, the retailers are struggling to find ways to finance their inventory for the holiday season, which is their greatest opportunity for revenue this year. In the first case, a retailer in business for 45 years suffered its first ever loss in 2008. For them, the ability to use a modest 2008 NOL carryback to finance inventory worth 5 times as much as that carryback could mean the difference in staying in business for its 2,000 permanent employees and 6,000 additional seasonal employees. In the second situation, a regional specialty chain operating in 4 western states predicts that it will close 1/3 of its remaining stores if it does not get a cash influx from its 2008 NOL carryback. That will result in a loss of 800 jobs. For businesses that are not on the brink of survival, the NOL carryback will allow them to make some new investments, like improvements to their stores, which there is also no capital to finance in this current environment. Another provision that will help create jobs is the extension of the 15-year depreciable life for improvements made to retail stores, restaurants, and leaseholds. If this provision is not extended, the depreciable life of these improvements will revert to 39 years, which will drive up costs and hurt investments and jobs. Both the NOL carryback and the extension of the 15-year life for improvements to retail, restaurant, and leasehold property will have a direct and positive impact on employment in the current economy. It is not only important for Congress to extend these provisions, but also it is important that these extensions be enacted soon. Delaying action will impact thousands of jobs. We urge the Small Business Committee to lend its support to extension of these important tax provisions. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this important hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Bernstein. Our next witness is Ms. Dina